Good morning, everyone, Australian time. Good evening if you're in Europe or the UK, and good afternoon if you are, of course, in the United States, Canada, or in that time zone. Happy International Women's Day. It's still International Women's Day on most of the planet, but in Australia we're a little bit ahead of the game. And New Zealand, good morning. We also have the opening press conference for the America's Cup today. That's going to get underway, but we'll talk about that later because today we're focusing on the women, and I'm very, very excited to have with us two more amazing women. You might have seen our foiling chat last night, and now apparently I have to go wing foiling. Yep, that's actually happened. Thanks to my chat with Carolyn Brower, Katie Spithill, and Stacey Jackson. We've sailed together a lot, so that was quite an entertaining chat, but hopefully it gave you a few insights into how you can go foiling. Now, without further ado, two amazing sailor girls have joined me today. I'll get them up here. Great to have you both. We have Alexandra Rickham at the top, and just for now, this is not, an order. And Justine Mettraux. Now, Alexandra is the sustainability manager for SailGP. Justine is a very well-known sailor and no stranger to foiling either. She's part of the sailing team at the moment with 11th Hour Racing. So if you've been jealous of a boat before, and I don't blame you at all, we were talking about it off air, I think you could definitely have been jealous of 11th Hour Racing. It's beautiful to look at. Justine, how are you? Where are you? Talk to us a little bit about what's happening.
Yeah, I'm really good. So I'm currently in Brittany, close to Lorient, and getting closer to starting the training with 11th Hour Racing. So looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic! We're very, very jealous. Alexandra, you are in the UK, I believe.
Yeah, I am in the UK. Living the lockdown dream. Haven't been near a sailboat for an age, but which is the sad bit. But enjoying life and working hard because we're preparing for the SailGP season, which is kicking off in Bermuda in April.
Oh, so exciting, and hopefully it goes ahead. I just got a message from Tom Herbert Evans, so a shout out to him. He's in Bermuda on the ground ready with the Inspire program, so he's having a little bit of a watch, which is good fun. But both of you, and why I've got you here today is because International Women's Day this year is all about leadership and not accepting what's in front of us and making a bit of a challenge. So I really like that you two are working with organizations in terms of sustainability. So, I mean, Justine, maybe you can start off with 11th Hour Racing, and I now have a really sexy photo up on the screen of this boat that we're all exceptionally jealous of, that you get to go racing on it. But, of course, it has an amazing message as well behind 11th Hour Racing. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think for 11th Hour, for sure, and for the sailing team as well, there is a lot of commitment towards sustainability with Amy and Damian, who are part of the team and who are working full-time on that topic, and who are trying to set up a lot of things. So yeah, it's really interesting to work with them and to be involved also in the team for that. So they also 11th Hour also works with the SailGP circuit.
Yeah. So there's a bit of crossover there, which is fantastic. So that's where we're going to bring in Alexandra, the sustainability manager for SailGP. What a job title! I mean, we've spoken about it quite a bit, especially at the various stopovers I've been at. Let's start with what you do and then break it down a bit.
Okay, so I do a little bit of everything. We're very lucky because our team is expanded now. So my workload's hopefully decreasing a little bit. So I'm quite excited about that. But essentially at SailGP, we've embedded it from the beginning. So sustainability is really, at a DNA level. And it's, there's a lot of change management in terms of getting people used to that idea of how you run sustainable events, and everything from energy to our own water fleet, through to how we have people traveling around the world. So, we're looking at all aspects of everything that we're doing everywhere that we have a footprint, essentially.
Yeah.
And then also trying to make sure now that we're delivering impact in the venues that we're going to, in some sort of way, and, reducing our carbon impact, but producing impact in other ways.
So good. And I mean, from the start of season 1, it was things like replacing cable ties with bits of shock cord, and making sure everyone was using a reusable water bottle. But as you mentioned, it's moved on to motorized marks, so you don't need another rib with more fuel. It's the way that you're fueling the place, looking into solar and all that sort of stuff. Like it's next level. It's not just the bits that we do each day, like no plastic cups and no plastic straws. It's next level, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're trying to push the boundaries a bit, in terms of how you run events generally. So, not only sailing events, but like events as a whole, and really trying to work with partners to be able to develop that further. At the moment, we're very much in the space of trying to champion clean energy, because we see that as a really great way to engage everybody, our fans, and, and internally within the SailGP as an organization. And then on top of that, obviously, our sailboats are powered by nature. It's our strap line, and they are, we have a way to charge we do have some batteries on board, but they're charged by solar. And so we've closed that loop. But the reality is that we have our whole support fleet. So we have a really ambitious program, which is looking at how do we decarbonize that support fleet? How do we either electrify or, move to different alternative fuels? And what does that look like? And a lot of the technology is not there, Nick. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. So we're on a learning journey, as well as, trying to, work with different entities to kind of get the sailing community and get the boating community a step further on. So yeah, we call it accelerating change, and so that we're hopefully that's what we're doing.
For sure. And of course, powered by Sail. I mean, I'm just going to bring this picture up again. This is what Justine is a part of. It's 11th hour racing. It's this amazing foiling a mocha. It's absolutely stunning. And it's the old Hugo Boss, the really good looking one. And without the pink. And no, I like the pink too. And a shout out to Alex Thompson if he happens to watch this. But this boat is an absolute weapon. I mean, Justine, it must feel really cool for you guys to be powered by nature as well, but have this awesome message through 11th hour.
Yeah, for sure. And this is our training boat, but there is a new boat which is built at the moment, which is the boat we will sail during the next ocean race. So it's also really interesting all the work they do with the 11th hour racing, trying to be carbon neutral in the build and all the things happening around the boat, and also working on new materials, like trying to see ways to recycle carbon and all the stuff there. Like as Alexandra said, different topics you can work on and try to improve on, or like even the stuff and the food we consume on board. How can we try to have less waste with that, with it, and so on. So a lot happening on all these topics. So.
Oh, it's incredible, because like even I remember with my friends Carolyn, Stacey and Katie were on the show last night, and they were part of Ocean Respect Racing, which was also sponsored by 11th Hour Racing. And I love how this is crossing over this sustainability message with women in sailing as well. Get onto that later. But even when you're threading a rope through a winch or through a block, we've had a pretty bad habit in sailing where we put a cable tie on the end of the rope, or, we use electrical tape everywhere. So that's sort of like the water bottle and the straw equivalent, I feel. And then getting the carbon to be recycled and trying to think about methods in the build is the next level, like the energy factor with SailGP. I mean, how do you manage that stuff, Justine? I mean, I guess it just takes longer, is step one.
Sorry, I didn't really get your question.
Oh, sorry. No, just saying
Sorry.
that. Well, I'll answer the question for you in a way. But I guess basically, if we want to be more sustainable, it does take more time and more energy, especially in a build process. That's really difficult in my mind.
Yeah, for sure. It needs a bit more time. I think it needs a reflection for sure. And I think there is some things that you can put in place quite easily. Like I think they did on the new boat is just like, the pre-preg carbon is packed in big cotton boxes. So instead of having all the time new ones with the new pre-preg carbon, they were sending it to the pre-preg carbon makers. So yeah, it's all just small stuff where you can quite easily limit the waste. And for sure, to build a boat is always time and material consuming, but there are some ways to and some solutions to improve and at least improve what can be worked on. So yeah,
That's fascinating. I guess that's a can of worms that I've opened. Now I'm going to want to investigate how they're recycling the carbon in the boat builds. That's awesome. So I mentioned in the intro that you're both very good sailors. Alexandra, you've been a Paralympian. I'm so sorry that you can't go sailing right now, but sailing is something that's been a part of your life, which is exceptionally beautiful. And Justine, from all accounts, you are the go-to girl in Lorient. I know you're in Brittany at the moment. I guess we might start with Justine. What does it mean to you to be a female sailor and be getting ready to do the ocean race on this absolutely amazing weapon? It must feel pretty special.
yeah. I mean, it's good. It's a really nice opportunity for me. It's to learn to sail better on IMOCAs. So I've done the ocean race before, but yeah, it's a new boats, new opportunity, less people on board, so it's gonna be different. And yeah, to me, it's always good when you can learn new things.
Yeah.
So for sure, there will be plenty to learn on these boats and on the new boat. So yeah, I'm really happy to get that opportunity. But it's also happening because of the who changed the rules to have more mixed teams. So it's also great move they did, I think, on one of the top level offshore race. And I think we see now that it's getting also on all the other circuits. It has an influence. So I think it's really nice, and there are more and more girls and women getting involved in the different offshore circuits. So it's really nice to see that.
For sure. And I know, you were involved with Team SCA, I believe. So you've started there. The boats have changed so much. But as you said, the rule that was brought in for the last edition, bringing in 2 women, but I think now with the smaller crew, it's just 1. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it's correct.
Yeah. So but that's still instigated a lot of change. SailGP are now going to have women involved with their sailing teams, and they're all trialing to have women involved at the moment. Whether they'll actually sail on board is yet to be determined, but at least they're actually trialing to have women involved, which is a great step. The Olympics, I think, is actually, I think the Olympics has actually really paved the way, Alexandra, if we think about it that way, because that will actually have equality by 2024. We'll see an equal amount of women and men competitors. So you must be proud to be a Paralympian as well, and to push that through, because you were on a mixed team when you were sailing.
Yeah, I was on a mixed team, so I'd like to say the Paralympics did that first.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for the same reasons. They were finding that there weren't any women, any females involved, and so the Paralympic Committee put down the rule. And when the Scud 18 was coming in, they said it has to come in as a mixed class in order for us to up the numbers, and and it did. And otherwise, we might not have seen the progress that we saw in the Paralympic classes. Before the Scud came in, we didn't see any female medalists, and then following that, one cycle later, we had Helena on the top of the podium in the single-handed class. So I think, rule changes are always a hard one for you to contemplate. but they do, they do definitely help, and they do at least, start setting up that pathway, that development pathway to try and kick things into gear. And it creates role models as well, because I think seeing people involved in the sports at, especially in the elite levels, just, drives a lot of change. And so I think we're in a really exciting period at the moment. And I think, sailing is recognizing that, that there's a problem, but it's, there are solutions, and they're coming up with them.
Which is fantastic. And I love that you two are both leaders effectively. And you might not think it, Justine, but I've heard many great things about you and what you're doing, especially in leading the Magenta Project and really encouraging women in your area to get involved. I mean, for you, Justine, specifically, because the IMOCA is a difficult boat to sail as it is. And I like to talk about sailors, not female and men sailors, like female and male sailors, just sailors. Like, we're just sailors. And I love sailing for that, because you've got your abilities. So whether you're disabled, able-bodied, 85, 4, a female or a male, you should be a sailor. And so, Justine, for you, your experience, you've obviously grown up in France, an incredibly strong sailing nation. What does it mean for you to see more females coming through the ranks? I mean, especially in particular, the Vendée Globes just finished. We had 6 women. And I love that even Sam and Alexia, who retired, finished the race anyway. I think that's awesome. And a testament to females as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the only one who retired and finished the race were women. So, but yeah, I think it's good. I think to me it feels like the girls or the young women who want to get involved in sailing or in offshore sailing, they probably feel like there are less boundaries than before, or that it can happen, and there is nothing which can really stop them. So I think the paths are getting more and more easy to get to them, and it's probably getting easier and easier to build projects or to be involved in teams and so on. So it's nice to see that, and I think we see here in France or in Brittany, we see a lot of young women who want to get involved, and there is a really good dynamic. So it's really nice to see that.
Yeah, because Justine, where did you start? I mean, how many female sailors were keen to do what you've done? I know you've done the mini and a variety of ocean racing classes. You're obviously very passionate. Obviously is a combination of passionate and obvious, by the way, just so you know. You're obviously very passionate about your ocean racing. I mean, what was it like when you got going? Because it's definitely changed in 30 years in my mind.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I grew old in Switzerland, so
there you go.
There were not a lot of female sailors there, but still there was Kini Parad who did the ocean race with the EF language. So she was a Swiss sailor, and even if it was years ago before I started really sailing, it still there was an example and there was a role model who had already done it. So you think it can happen. So, but I think. Now there are more, what I wanted to say is that now there are more opportunities for the women. Like you can start sailing on the mini thinking, oh, maybe later on I can step on a Figaro, and then maybe after I can go on the ocean race, which was not really possible before. There are more and more selections which are reserved for women now, like to have Figaro projects, stuff like this, which were more male-oriented before, but now there is some space with it, which is really kept for women. So all these small changes, I think are really important. And I think for a young woman who now starts, she can think like, I can have a future in the sport, and I can continue in that for a long time.
Awesome.
I think before, even probably for Olympic sailors, you can think how I'm going to do my Olympic campaigns and I'm going to reach a really good level. But then what what can I do? There is not a lot of opportunities, and it was lacking. So it's really nice also that now the SailGP is also changing the rules or trying to improve on that topic. So there is still a bit of work for sure to go, and it's good that more and more opportunities are still coming in the field.
So cool. I think what you're doing too, whether you realize it or not, Justine, is you're really inspiring other women to have a go, which is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like with the Magenta, it's not a lot of work for us. It's just like trying to connect the women together and to give small opportunities when we can. So like deliveries or trainings or just opportunities to step on some boats that they have no access to usually. But it's really not time costly. It's not a lot of energy for pro sailors to do that. But it can make a lot of difference. So.
I talk about like this top band of sailors, and they're always upskilling. They're doing the Volvo Ocean Race, the Olympics, SailGP now, maybe the GC32, etc. And they've all been pulled from the same pool for so long that they just upskill and upskill and upskill and upskill. And we have to try and get women up there a little bit so that they can get upskilled and actually get selected. So that's where... for those who may not agree with the compulsory rule, that's where at least women are starting to get upskilled and can then actually be part of it. But there's so many parallels between what you just said, Justine, and sustainability, because we're doing what we can, but we've just got to wait until we can actually break through. So it's really interesting for me that we see a lot of women aligning with that sustainability message as well. But I think what we're going to try and do now is get some questions from the audience. I've got Cass standing by, so a big shout out to Cass for always looking after my bottom. Okay, here we go. We do have a question from Andrew Pinder. So on the line of the Magenta Project, how do you think, either of you, how do you think that the mentoring program potentially could be improved if you had an endless budget as such? How do you think that could be improved, Justine? I'm giving you an endless budget.
I don't know. I think for us, when we have a mentee, like I've been a mentor for the last 2 years, sometimes you don't have really the contacts you would like to, or the opportunities you would like to be able to give to your mentee. So if we
more
could
boats?
more boats or more clinics that we could run would be nice. Like, if you have 10 mentees who are really interested into more short-ended sailing, you can run a figure of 3 clinic or stuff like this. It would be nice. But
for sure.
You need a bit of budget for that.
Yeah, and last night we were talking about with Carolyn and Katie and Stacey, and that's why they were saying you just have to come wing foiling and actually just learn how to foil, because that is something that we sort of need at the top end of the sport now, as well as being able to understand foiling mechanisms and how that's working. Do you agree with that, Justine?
Yeah, I think so. I think it can be a path regarding what you want to do. I think it's it's good if you have a big goal, or you can think like what can I put in place to what steps can I put in between to reach this goal, or I think for sure it's a way of doing it. And if you want to sail offshore also, I think it's good to be to have a lot of different skills and to be multitask. So it's also good, for example, to sail short-ended, because you will be able then to do everything on board. So then it's a good point when you sail with crews as well. So I think there are different paths, but for sure the sailing generally is going more and more to foiling. So it's good to get into
good
that as well, for sure.
Now, Alexandra, I'm going to ask you the same question, but in a different way. What would you do if you had an endless budget for sustainability?
Well, I'm going to give you 2 answers. The first thing I'm going to say is I think, going back to the sailing component, I think, it would be really exciting also in terms of like teams and leagues and ownership, the kind of back of house kind of aspects, and also learning how to develop the teams and stuff, I think would be really powerful if the budget was endless, because I think having some more women running the show would also get more women into the show.
Yeah.
So I think a bit of leadership, I think that would be really cool. And I think that's something that if the Magenta Project had the money, that's something that they would definitely try to kick into gear. And then if I had an endless sustainability budget, I mean, a lot of it would go on innovation, to be quite honest with you. I mean, yeah, it would be, it would be around the technology, and really, I think, trying to finance, more of those startups, and to try and drive what we need forward a little bit faster, because I think that's probably the hardest bit is, when you want to make changes, but either the cost is absolutely prohibitive. And so, so for the likes of things like changing over your boats there, the technology is not there. So one is that we need the influx of cash to innovate and to drive that forward.
Or a
but
time
two
machine.
Is then, or a time machine. Good point. And then the second part is around being able to actually purchase, to being able to access that technology, or at least to set up an economic model which makes it accessible to everybody, because that's one of the hard things is people run away from sustainability quite often because sometimes the cost can be prohibitive where in certain cases. So I think that's and then number 3 is I'd clear out all the boat parks with all of the boats that are sitting around rotting. Because that's one of the biggest issues that we're facing, I think, on the sailing club level, is just how many fiberglass boats are just sitting there and nothing's happening.
Yeah, I think recycling is a global issue, not just for sailors, obviously. So I wish we could work that out too. That would be an incredible thing. But on what you were saying with women and getting more women into actual organisational roles, a question for either of you. I think it's a follow-up question from Andrew Pindar. The questions are coming through thick and fast. Do you guys have time to answer some questions? Is that okay? Sorry to keep you.
Yeah, sure.
Are you right to keep going, Justine? Okay. So basically, do you think the mentors should be paid then, if that might open more opportunities?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think it's good to do it for free, and I mean, for me, it's also rewarding. I learn from my mentees, and they bring me things and energy and ideas as well. So I think it's a good both way exchange. But I think it's more like, for sure, if you organize then clinics and people are more into logistics and so on, it's probably good also to have some people who can make their lives with that. But
I would love, off what Alex said, to see more mentors that are female PROs or umpires or media or, in that area. And I've for a long time thought exactly what you thought, Alexandra, that we need more women in that actual support space as well, because I'm one of few in media, and it was all the guys who helped me to do what I did, including Andrew Pindar and Bob Fisher, bless his heart. There are a lot of people that helped me that were males when I became quite passionate about doing the media space, because if there's women writing the stories, then there might be more of a female focus. So that became quite important to me as well. But I have another question here. So this might actually work for you, Justine, too. Have you seen any major change in sponsorship for females and the attitude towards female sailors since Team SCA specifically, I think, since that all-female women team? Because that can be a problem too, actually, is convincing the sponsors that women can do it.
Well, I think for me, like especially in France, there have been a lot of female sailors for a long time, like on the single-handed
or
sea.
Swiss. My apologies.
Yeah. I think it's been. I think that image for the sponsors has still been good for a long time, and sometimes you can even think it's probably it can be a good point to be a woman looking for sponsors compared to males. But I think the best thing with the SCA campaign was just that you had, again, 15 female getting a lot of offshore experience, which was which had not happened for the last 12 years. And then for sure it was it was easier for us then to get sailing with male teams in mixed teams, because we had the experience, we had the knowledge on the boats, and it was good for sure to start with this female project. And then with the change of the rules on the ocean race, it was matching well. And it was also nice, I think, as a female to get to sail with men who had so much experience in this race and on these boats. You could learn so much, and really faster than if you were just like 12 women having to learn all at the same time, something you had no experience at. So
I remember with Team SCA specifically, you guys started getting really good at your tacks in the import races. You were just all over the tacking situation, and you actually came third in the import race series, which was really exciting because you had to innovate and work out ways to do it, which was a good thing. But as you say, I've always sailed with guys, from a young age, and then eventually went on to do women's match racing and that circuit, which a lot of us did because it was the only female circuit available, and we got to go. But the sailing with guys thing, I mean, Alexandra, you've sailed mixed as well. I mean, do you think that's more of a solution, is the mixed setup, either of you, so that we can learn at that rate as opposed to the all-female situation?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. Like, I think in terms of accelerating the learning curve, then I think it's really powerful. But I think, we've also seen with other sports where that have male-female delineations that actually, for example, women's football has, exploded and now has a huge following. And there's, we're seeing such a big change in the uptake of women's sport, which is, and that I think there's also space for that. And I think, it depends on the situation. I think with offshore, it's a little bit different to some degree, but because it's a longer haul and there's lots of ways around it. But I think, in some of the inshore racing, it might be nice to have, more female leagues, to be honest with you, to really get
To actually put
kind of the women going, and just, and for it to be super competitive, and there not to be kind of any sort of problems with, I don't want to include a woman or whatever. It's just, you don't have that conversation because that's the class.
Non-existent.
Oh, exactly.
I miss the women's match racing tour. That was really good fun, and the Olympics kind of killed it, sadly. I'm not sure if, Justine, you took part in the match racing tour, but I've got a question here. Anders Toward asked I've got a little lag. Ask the question about the major changes in sponsorship. But for you, Alexandra, when you're dealing with all of these entrepreneurs and innovators in the sustainable space, is there a gender balance? Is it male female in that space? Is a question.
That's a really good question, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest with you. But I think a lot of the companies that we're coming across are, they're, very into, diversity and inclusion and very much, excited about the prospects of being able to kind of drive change, because a lot of them are change makers anyway in terms of their space.
Yeah.
So I think, it's always something that they're considering. But, the tech space has its problems, massive problems. So, when we're interacting with that space, it's, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting I'm a female entrepreneur in the tech space, and in sailing media. So, no stranger to being a female that's on a mission. But I'm really lucky that my partner is in the tech space too. his company's predominantly male and mine's predominantly female, so I feel like I'm balancing it out there. But I learn a lot from them, don't you get me wrong. It's good to cross over. So if you're going to draw a parallel there with the tech space, I think I've got that one happening. But there's one more question from Mark Wharton-Reed, but I just want to thank you guys for your time, and then I'll ask you this question. The question is, and it's quite loaded, so feel free to answer in whichever way you want. I'll start with Justine. What do you think is the best way to feed and help this top level of women? If you had a choice in what would be the best way to make that happen, be it the Olympics, helping more Olympic athletes, like you said, cross over into ocean racing because now they have somewhere to go. Would it be having more women on board in a Volvo Ocean Race? Would it be the Youth America's Cup? Because we don't have any women in the America's Cup at the moment. I mean, if you could pinpoint one particular thing, what do you think that might be? Big question.
Yeah, I think it can happen a bit on every level, and we saw with the study that which has been made about the world sailing on the female participation, that you need to start also from the dinghy level, and with young women, helping them more, giving them more opportunities, having more female coaches and female around them in the federations to keep them in the loop as well. Because then, for sure, you need to have female with experience to get the jobs who require more experience. So, I think you need to create more opportunities at the top level, but also you need to focus on the other layers and starting from the start. So, there is work, I think, in all the different levels.
And this is why you're such a great mentor. Clearly, did you start on dinghies, Justine?
No, not really. I started more when I was a teenager, sailing on keelboats, and
You found your passion straight away. Aren't you so lucky? Well, Alexandra, what do you think, if there's something that you could pinpoint? I mean, it's really interesting, actually, because you've both been involved with very different angles of the sport in a mixed environment. So I find it really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think really kind of based on what Justine's saying. I think across all women's sport, we've seen that there's that teenage situation which appears, and where we start, where we see mass exit of women from sport, and I think that I think kind of trying to tackle that a lot more effectively so we don't get that mass fallout is, I think, really key. And then I think also just thinking around the subjects a little bit more in terms of like women and, if childcare, if more women are like primary, carers and that kind of thing, actually, how do you help facilitate them being either on the start line for boats or in the other roles? How do you facilitate that training, and I think we've all learned in the last year, you can get pretty original with the way in which you deliver training and the way in which you're able to upskill people. And so I think we just have to be smarter about the way that we utilize those tools and, and in terms of what the needs are for the various audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you both. And that youth focus is where I'm at the moment. I think I saw a lot of my amazing friends fall out of the sport at that university age, I think. And so finding them opportunities there, I think maybe would have changed outcomes. But we all end up with different focuses, and sailing seems to be competing with women's football and cricket and all these other sports for people's time. So the cool thing is you can sail from day dot. Like me, I can't remember day one. I can't remember it. I was tied to a laser mast. But thanks, Dad. But hopefully I'll remember the last day, and that'll be well into whenever it is. So thank you both for your passion, not only for women in the sport. Happy International Women's Day, but for sustainability as well, which is a very important topic, as we all know. So I'll leave you here, but thanks to Alexandra, thanks to Justine. Oh look, I've nearly got it. And hopefully we can see you down the line. Good luck with all your preparation with 11th hour, Justine. Hopefully you get to go sailing soon.
Good luck.
Yeah. When any idea on when you'll get to go sailing, Justine?
Next week. Yeah.
Oh! Stop it. We're all jealous. Oh, Alexandra, now's your chance. Quick, ask.
Yeah, Don't forget to remind Damien. He promised me a ride on that boat. So when I finally get released from lockdown, I'm coming to have my ride on the 11th hour race team boat. Like 100%. You can strap me to the back of it. I don't care. So
Yeah.
just remind them.
You heard it here first. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, ladies, for your time. Everybody, there's plenty more
Thanks
International Women's Day content coming up. I'll be on Clubhouse very shortly. And the America's Cup kicks off tomorrow once again. So I'll be there representing women. Woo! I'll see you guys later. Oh, gosh.
Bye.
Awesome chat. Bye, everybody. If I can find my outro. There it is. Yay.